Please welcome Matthew Zachary, a cancer survivor and the CEO of Stupid Cancer, and Ericka Hart, a breast cancer survivor and activist. Here to lead the conversation is the Atlantic's Washington editor-at-large, Steve Clemons.
Hey, everybody. Good to be with all of you. I hope you're having a productive time today. Interesting. Ericka, Matt, thank you so much for joining me. You know, I'm amazed by what each of you has done to animate. I mean, you went beyond your own condition, but you've now both created networks and communication platforms, and you're both frustrated. I mean, this is not, you know, a walk in the park kind of time for you. And I just want to, you know, Ericka, ask you and Matt the same question. Tell us what you find that you're most angry about the cancer ecosystem today that this audience ought to hear. Ericka?
I think I'm pretty angry about lots of things. I think one is the erasure of Black and brown bodies as it relates to breast cancer. Right now, when you do a Google search of breast cancer, what comes up are a lot of white, presumable cisgender women, and Angelina Jolie, who didn't have breast cancer, but apparently is up there as well. So that is frustrating, and I think even in the commercials that we see, the image of breast cancer is a white, cisgender, wealthy, has a, you know, home, can come to a place like the Plaza, and has now been diagnosed with breast cancer. And I was 28 years old, broke, living in Brooklyn, queer, about to get married, and had no avenue necessarily. So I'm frustrated about that. I'm also frustrated about the ways in which because of that, we talk about breast cancer in particular.
Right.
And we talk about it in a very binary way, like, oh, women and, you know, breasts are important, and we don't talk about trans people and non-binary people and agender people who are also impacted by breast cancer, because breast cancer impacts every gender. Yeah.
That's powerful. And Matt, I mean, you've built the biggest franchise I know of about being pissed off and hanging out with other pissed off people. These are your words, not mine. You know, and so I'm wondering, you know, how, I mean, you know, I know you built CancerCon and you brought kids into this and, you know, really changed and moved the needle on a lot of pediatric cancer. But part of it is to change the narrative from people as victims to people as warriors and people who can challenge the system. So where are you today in that eruption?
I'll just quickly piggyback.
Yeah.
I believe the gross indignities that people face when they enter a healthcare marketplace, they have no time to research, because who expects to, like, you don't walk around saying, can't wait to get on that drug. That doesn't happen. So the injustices across the spectrum of all races and creeds and genders is just not aligned with what we expect as consumers entering a place where we don't know what our choices are and how we should be treated appropriately. So through the lens of what we do, which is Generation X, Millennial, now Gen Z, young adult cancer, adolescent young adult cancer, what I'm most profoundly impacted by 12 years later is truly how much systemic infrastructural change there has been to create equality and parity for this invisible generation of patients, survivors, and caregivers. 12 years ago, the 3 words, young adult cancer, were not a consecutive sentence or statement. And today, there are federal guidelines, standards of care, best practices, there's NCI-designated funded research, there's peer-reviewed journals, there's an adolescent young adult cancer professional oncology society. There are cancer centers building standards. There's a door for kids, there's a door for young adults, and there's a door for everyone else. Conceptually, then, I say mission accomplished with regard to the Sisyphus we've been dealing with for 12 years now. It doesn't really solve the gross inequities and injustices, but again, what really grinds my gears is just the gross lack of individualism that people face in healthcare.
You know, when Ericka talks about communities being essentially whitewashed out of the picture, what are you doing at CancerCon in Denver? You know, this goes on in Denver. I know you're trying to put together a European version of this. What do you, I mean, I'm just interested to get you guys out of your boxes for a minute. What do you think needs to be done to help solve the challenge that Ericka just raised?
We are launching our first ever diversity council. So you're now on it.
Okay.
I just recruited you. And it is to help us do a better job identifying communities of color and disenfranchised and financially, I don't know, facing financial hardship, communities of financial hardship, to make us more inclusive, more accessible, and whether you can or cannot afford to take 4 days off and come to our conference in Denver, what can we do to be invitational and culturally relevant, culturally sensitive? Because, yeah, we're not all Lexus, you know, the white women Lexus brands, and there are so many people that don't know what they need, but will only listen to communities that look like them, talk like them, feel like them, in places where they have confidence and comfortability to resonate with messages that can help them improve their lives and get connected to resources that matter to them. That's at the core of our new DNA, is how do we improve our inclusivity and our access to other communities that would otherwise not understand a value with what we offer them.
Ericka, you know, thank you. We were out in Minneapolis recently for an event, and we had some representation of the African American community and the Native American community out there, which is very large, and why they were not part of clinical trials, why they were underserved. And part of the conversation essentially alleged that that there's a myth that to some degree these communities don't want to be in clinical trials, that there are lots of blocks and problems and challenges that get in the way. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But it was also very clear, particularly in the Native American community, that this kind of conversation about health, about getting help, about identifying lumps. I was very taken by the story of you and your mother, that your mother taught you early on how to do this. I'm just interested in sort of an introspective look in the African American community about why it's so hard for what you had with your mother to be something that's more the norm rather than the exception.
Well, I mean, the communities of color have been used as guinea pigs to the medical industry for a very long time. I mean, you could talk about Henrietta Lacks, you could talk about the Tuskegee experiments, and those things haven't necessarily been rectified in the ways in which when a black person goes...
That creates fear.
Yeah, goes into a medical facility and is treated with the same regard as someone like Henrietta Lacks was. Maybe their body isn't used in the same ways, but they're still regarded like they don't matter. They're not necessarily going to have the same language and the same understanding necessarily that my mom had. And my mom had already been diagnosed with breast cancer. And I don't know that my mom found her lump by doing a self-exam. I know that she went and got a mammogram and found out that she had it. And she just passed it on to me, hey, make sure you're doing this stuff.
Right.
And my mom also had educational privilege. So, you know, if communities of color continue to be disenfranchised in terms of wealth and education and access to particular things, then we're going to continue not to be able to deliver these particular necessities of health to our communities.
Matt, I want to, ask you the same thing, because you've reached out and kind of tried to, it's a different sort of problem, but as you saw it, the ageism that's built in, right? You've now created awareness among young people, but how do you instill this? I'll tell you one thing that came up in a session we had this morning, is that the fear, and particularly with the rockiness of healthcare and what you have, what you don't have, what can be rolled back, lots of people don't want to disclose because of the fear of pre-existing conditions bias, right, to come in. So how does that affect the storytelling that is such an important part of fighting cancer, if you will?
Right, like what is destig at the generational level?
Yeah.
And again, to piggyback off this, we did a podcast with an Inuit community on like what cancer means to them, and the stigma there is it's a very spiritual community, and it's frowned upon as you did something wrong, and it's your fault that you got this, and the spirits, the gods, the universe is telling you that you did something wrong. We also did another workshop with male Latino community, and testicular cancer has an implication of homosexuality. And that's a fascinating understanding of how a culture can beget this propaganda, and how do you get that shame out of that conversation and normalize in a way that the next generation doesn't have to feel shamed by the older generation, that they can be part of a community that doesn't judge and doesn't stigmatize, but normalizes your perceptions of what you were taught. But going back to the other conversation is generationality really does matter. And I say that because a significant amount of legislation that has passed, despite the political climates of the last couple of years, is benefiting young adults with cancer, and specifically 2 laws that have passed. One most recently, it was a 6-year fight, and my colleague did this on the Hill. You can get student loan debt forgiveness for anything except cancer. And this was built into a 1968 bill that basically said we're going to recoup our money because they're dying. And literally 2 weeks ago, they finally passed an omnibus spending bill which included student loan debt forgiveness for cancer. All races, all colors, all genders, you get cancer, you're young, it's forgiven.
So it's done and signed?
It's done and signed.
President Trump signed it?
He did.
Does he know he signed it?
Probably not.
I have some student loans.
Yeah.
Let's try it out.
But what I'm saying, like this generation that saw its own disparities took it under its own impetus to create this change. And the other last part of this is in our demographic, we focus very, very heavily on family planning and family rights and right to biological parenthood, which is often robbed of young adults despite there being guidelines and standards of care. And we've now seen our 9th state at the state level flip a mandate to guarantee full coverage for fertility preservation at point of care. So that's a really big deal. And those types of changes, they span, again, race, gender, financial hardship, socioeconomic status. You're just there now, and you have the same benefits and entitlements as your peers from any area, as long as you are in the age range that demanded this change.
You are both big-time warriors. Ericka, you have this enormous social media gathering, and I've been very familiar with what Matt has been doing with so many folks. I'm interested, as you look forward 5 years from now, what will you have knocked down? What are the big battles you see that you still need to take down, stepping forward from today?
I think one of the big battles I want to walk into a doctor's office, any doctor's office, and see more than 2 gender markers. I want to see an empty space for gender so people can just fill that in. That would be a massive opportunity for me. I also just want people to stop dying of cancer, period. Just recently, a woman died because her insurance company wouldn't approve her last 2 treatments. So I'm certainly clear that insurance companies are really out to kill us.
You have a great tweet I saw, insurance companies are killing us, insurance companies are killing us,
Yeah.
insurance companies are killing us.
If I didn't drive it home.
About 7
Yeah.
times, yeah.
Yeah.
What were you thinking there?
I mean,
Tell us how you really feel.
I mean, it was, my insurance company, when I was going through chemo, also denied my last 2 chemo treatments.
Wow.
And if I didn't have the understanding of using Twitter and that these are companies, and if you blast them on Twitter, then they get shocked and, oh my gosh, wait, don't do this to our, reputation, then they want to change it.
Right.
So I use Twitter to my advantage, and this is when I did not have a huge social media following. I just wanted to get my treatment. So it's really disheartening that someone had to die because of that. I think that is ridiculous. And I think that is something that I would love to see change. And if it's my voice that has to keep speaking out about it, then okay.
I'm going to all of you in a moment, but I want to hear what the founder of Stupid Cancer, I just love Stupid Cancer, and I want to thank Matt for everything he's done.
I'd like
taught
to
me
see
a lot, by the way, too, about this, so thank you.
I mean, it's my honor to be here with you. I would say marijuana should be deschedulized, and there should be real science and data on its impact and survivorship in cancer.
Say that one more time, I couldn't hear you.
That marijuana should be descheduled, and that there should be true academic, evidence-based science in this country, not just in Israel and other countries out there, that can define its role in palliative care and survivorship for managed health outcomes through cancer. And that,
Wow.
And if you are a cancer patient and you live in a state where medicinal cannabis is legal and you get a card or sign up from your doctor and you go to a dispensary, who's protecting you at point of sale to know what's right for you? Who are the baristas or the sommeliers at these, Cheech and Chong or legitimate consumer experiences out there? So I really see, you got to skate where the puck's going to be. Cannabis is here. People are using it. We have evidence that isn't in this country. And we now know that more and more people are going to states. That the state just, I think the 3 states are just passed now, either recreational or medicinal. Cancer patients are going, any healthcare patients are going to be going to dispensaries. How do they know what's right for them?
Thank you for that. Let me open to the floor to questions in here. Do we have comments, questions from the floor? Otherwise, I'll pick on you. Right over here in the back, yeah. And we've got a microphone coming to you because lots of people are watching online, I hear.
Great. Hey, Dave Delahunt. I was wondering if you could talk about what you think the biggest impediments are to CBD or other alternatives to opioid painkillers and how we can address the opioid epidemic in that way. Thanks.
Ericka, thoughts?
I'm not sure about the opioid epidemic, but I think the excitement about CBD and marijuana, we also need to focus on folks that have been criminalized for using CBD or for selling it. I think that also needs to be tackled before we start putting it into our medical systems and having it in dispensaries and showing it on places like Viceland. We need to actually get people out of prison who have been incarcerated because of breaking the law during that time. But opioid crisis, I'm not sure. That's a hard one for me.
Matt, quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I remember when Nirvana came out and they were alternative, and now everything's alternative. So I don't like the word alternative. I like the word augmentative because there really is no alternative. You have to augment what's right for you. And until the science is approved and allowed, the data is not there, although we now know, again, with Vice and what John Oliver's doing, the narrative is there around PTSD and quality of life, and CBD versus THC and what's going to come to market. And Canada is going to help revolutionize some of our data right now, which is fantastic. With regulation, which is even better for us. But, there is definitely a known conflation between opioid addiction and CBD use and chronic pain and disease management. And I'm not going to say, someone's got to figure that out, but that is a known narrative, and there are lots of people that are trying to be really smart about what that looks like in a few years.
Let me just ask you both quickly something that's just short answers, but big question. You both have mastered, I think, the art of talking to people who are in very tough straits. Many of them are going to die. Many of them shouldn't, as you said, die, but you've mastered that and you become leaders. What can you share about, you both are icons in this world. What can you share with other members of the cancer world on how to do that? How do we all be better at having that conversation and essentially empowering people?
Well, cancer is not a death sentence, so stop relating to people like they're going to die when they tell you, or if they've been diagnosed, or if they've had somebody. Anytime I tell someone I'm a breast cancer survivor, they say, "Oh, my mom died of cancer." I'm like, okay, thanks. My mom did too. It doesn't have to be like this time where we talk about death.
Right.
It could also be a time where we just talk about living with a chronic illness. And I think that is actually dismantling ableism because we live in a very ableist society, and that comes into cancer. So I think just affirming people and really just being with them when they tell you and not adding morbidity and sadness to their expression of where they are.
Great. Matt?
What's worse than that is when you say I had cancer and they say, well, my cat died from cancer.
Right.
There's a level above.
Right. That's a step above. That's where we're fighting. That's where we're fighting.
Yeah, it's a level set the playing field.
Yeah.
I have a really good friend, her name is Emily McDowell. She has a greeting card company, and she has these really funny, snarky humor cards. And her first card, because she's a breast cancer survivor, was, "There's no good card for this. I'm here for you." And I think that's the most basic sentiment from a humanity perspective you can share with anybody, that you're there for them, and what can I do for you? Because you can't solve their problems. You can only let them know that you're here for them to listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Zachary and Ericka Hart, thank you both so much.
Thank you.